Good morning. It's been a long time again, and I'm outside my little utility room and barn this morning because I've been having a bit of a think about how this channel goes and how it feels to me. And I think the more that I've thought about it, the more I think it's evolved, and I want to change some bits and pieces around it. I want to do a lot more stitching in the barn this year. I want to do a lot more how-tos this year. I want to do a lot more stitch-alongs this year. And I thought that to start with, I would be completely brutally honest about what this weekend is about. So it's bank holiday weekend this weekend, and rarely do I get a bank holiday weekend that is for me. But this weekend is. I'm not away, my kids are away, so they don't need me. And so what I've decided to do is spend the weekend sorting out this room. So behind me is my little barn and utility room. So it's between my cottage and the barn is an area that was just an icky green space. Doesn't get enough sunlight in it to make it a nice place to sit. It was too small. It ended up as a storage facility. So in 2020 I decided that I'd turn it into a utility room, and so friends of mine and I built this bit, and then I renovated the barn, which is not huge but the perfect space to sit and sew. And it's got such a lovely atmosphere in it, but it was completely wrecked. It had been the coal house, the outhouse, it was a storage facility, the roof leaked. There were so many things that were wrong with it, but inherently it was a really lovely little building. So things all got fixed. It's got a new floor in it. I did it all up, put all the fabric in it, and then COVID came along and we had lockdown, and then my life took a completely different turn because all of my work balance changed, and I became a lot busier with the dog rescue side of things, and the behavioural side of things. So a lot of my work went into that, and there's only me, so time spent trying to get things organised is very limited. And I have to try and balance. I've got obviously 3 worlds, so is my sewing world, my dog world, and my support world. And trying to balance those 3 things, plus my daughter moved out, so there's time spent over with her. And my friend Tracy and I have this bucket list that we've been trying to tick off. And so we've been trying to get away for weekends and things like that. So last year and the year before was quite challenging as far as time went, and obviously I haven't posted as much as I would have liked to have done last year. So I thought, let's have a bit of a rejig. Hello Rosie, hello. Let's have a bit of a rejig. And so I want to bring you in from the beginning. This weekend we're going to sort this out. At the moment I've been working in my living room. I don't want to work in my living room anymore. It doesn't feel right. I'd like to just be able to sit in there and have it as a relaxed space, not as a workroom. And although I like sitting on the sofa sewing, and I still will, I don't want to have stuff stored in the living room. And at the moment there's a corner of my lounge that is just storage. It's just got boxes of sewing stuff and bits and pieces. I don't want that anymore. So if you can hear voices off, my neighbours are wandering around. It's bank holiday, so everybody's home. So in here is a big mess, and it's a big mess because it's ended up as, it's still kind of a DIY workroom. My big saw's still in there, all my tools are still in there, and when I built it I didn't have 2 kayaks and a tent, and unfortunately they can't go in the garden shed at the moment because they'll get chewed, because there's little furry people that are up the garden. So they have to find a home in here. So at the moment they're on my what should be my shoe box has actually become my kayak box. So I want to sort this out. There's things in the kitchen that should be in here. There's things in here that should be in the barn, and at the moment the barn is equally as confusing. So come with me this weekend and we'll chat and we'll talk fabrics and we'll talk sewing rooms, and you can just get to know a little bit more about who I am, what I am and how I'm working. Things have changed a lot since I started this channel. I'm not scared of the camera anymore, which is a big deal for me because I was terrified when I first started doing this. It was awful. So Rosie's just getting caught up over there behind a table and ringing some chimes. You're going to go back in? Funny girl. So let's see how we get on. I'm hoping that by the end of this weekend, at least by the end of today, Friday and Saturday, I will have a working barn again and not just somewhere that's got lots of stuff stored in it. I want to be able to sit at my bench, sit at my desk and film. I've had the lighting put in specifically to do that, but I haven't been able to do that yet. So come with me. Let's see how we get on. I'm going to go and put the kettle on and then we'll get cracking. Excuse the noise off my washing machine. So my great big chop saw, which the kids gave me for my Christmas present a few years ago, and has been instrumental in making this place. This shelf is supposed to have kitchen stuff on it, my kilner jars, all that sort of stuff. That's not happened yet. The worked surface is supposed to be so that I can put my seeds up and work in here, and yep, can't do that yet, can I? So my lovely storage system, which should be brilliant. My desk is over there, you can't see it, and then all sorts of bits and pieces arrived in this room that should never have been in here. That shelf should have all my boxes on it, with all my threads and things in it, but yeah, can you see what's happened? It's just an absolute disaster. And then I've just got to go through some bags of fabric here, and I've got more bags of fabric there, and my great big camping chair, which should never be in here. So there's a lot of work to do over the next few days, but as you can see, look how cute this is. It's such a lovely little barn and I love it dearly, and I want to be in here and working. So yeah, this is why we're gonna do a massive clear up. Right, that's better. Cup of tea. And now I just have to think about where I'm going to start in here, because honestly it's got away from me, and there's things in here that really belong in the shed and in my garden. So what I think I'm going to do first of all is work out what doesn't need to live in here, and then gather that lot up. And then I really want to get to the point where I can use this space, and I've got a load of kilner jars and glass jars that I'd like to keep up there, and some other bits and pieces that are in the kitchen that really shouldn't be in the kitchen. So yeah, so cheers everybody. Let's get started. You like my great big tin? It's got the bird food in it. So these are going to the tip, because I'm not going to be using those anymore. And that's going to wash. The washing machine's finished now, so there's not all that noise going on any longer. barbecue and briquettes. That can go up the top. I'm just going to put them in the doorway for the time being. I've got to go and scatter this in the garden. It's honesty and I love it. So it won't flower next year, it'll flower the following year, but it really does need to go into the garden now. Is there anything else that needs to go in the garden? That's it for now. Fire lighter. Okay, first lot to go up the garden. There's so many bits on here that I need, but that really oughtn't to be here. So I think what I'm going to do, it might come in handy. I think what I'm going to do is just use that little thing and I'll just pop all of the little bits and pieces, bits for the haberdashery and things that I'm not too sure what to do with at the moment. I'll go in there. I bought these, they're really sweet, but they're kind of for the garden, but they've not made it up there yet. So they can go up to the shed. Ooh. I would be looking for these. These are little chalkboards that I use when I do craft fairs, and they stand in little wooden things, and I brought them in to clean them, and I've cleaned them and I haven't put them away. So I would have been looking for these in 2 weeks' time. So I'm going to pop them up there for now, because they live in a box in the barn. I love these jars. They are absolutely perfect for storing buttons in. So I keep them all, and then they end up with buttons. So I look like I'm moving things around without any plan at the minute. I have got a plan. Because who doesn't need a million bells? I absolutely love buttons in jars. So I try and keep them all in jars, but this isn't my jar. This was my great aunt's jar, and there's all sorts of buttons in there, including buttons that have come off civil defence jackets and all sorts. There's a real treasure trove. These are my jars for jam, but I haven't done it. This is my little freezer. I've got so many plums that came off my plum tree last year, and they're supposed to be jam, but I haven't had time to make them yet. So, got to get on with that. That can have a wash. And I need to put this up. This was the last remaining sign that was in my granddad's My granddad was a coal man in Kent, and I want to put this up on the wall somewhere. Might put it up on the wall there because it's white and it will show up. We'll see. There's always a dog hair in my tea. So why have I decided to rejig the channel? I think this is kind of like a restart. This has been in flux for so long, so ever since I built it really. So when I first moved here, the barn has always been here. It was here when it was built, when the house was built. So the barn itself used to be the outhouse. It was where the toilet was. It was where the coal bunkers were here, and that the barn was a storage space. It was you know, you kept your garden tools in there, all of that kind of thing, bicycle, what have you. And the house was built in 18, I think now, because I did a bit of digging, and a friend of mine did a bit of digging, and I think we've established that these cottages were built in about 1850, and they were built originally to house the miners. So this whole area was open cast coprolite mines, which is dinosaur poo. And these cottages were part of the cottages that were built in the village to house the miners when they moved in to work the mines. So we can date them, which is amazing, really. It's lovely to know the history. But this bit here was just doing nothing. So I think it's kind of working really well as a utility room, insofar as I've got the freezer and the washing machine in here. But it's still a bit of a storage dumping ground. So the idea is that I would like the whole of this shelf to have things that at the moment are living in the kitchen and shouldn't be. So like my mason jars that I use when I'm doing jams, and I'm going to make my Christmas mincemeat, because I'm vegetarian, so sometimes I'm not 100% sure that I trust the stuff you buy in the shop. So I make mincemeat up, and then that goes into them. So that I've got mason jars and things to go up there, and bits in the kitchen, like my plate stands and all those sorts of things. And I'd like them up there, out the way, but where I can actually see them and get to them, because at the moment they're at the backs of cupboards and things, and they're not really where they should be. So this has been one of those projects that's been waiting to be done forever, really, ever since it was built. I've put a lid down. Oh, so yeah, it's just something that I've really wanted to do for a very long time. And I think that I'm falling back in love with my cottage, but it really does need some TLC. And the barn was like my big triumph of lockdown, and I haven't really been able to use it effectively since. So it's all of the bones are there, but I'd like to have the time to be able to get in here and start doing some proper textiles art. So my easels here, I can have some a design board up on that, but I haven't had time to do that yet. So this is like a complete restart, and I'm quite happy about that. So sewing rooms. So my sewing room has been a project on the go for so long, and I'm itching to get in there and do work. I'm itching to do it, and it's something that I'm excited to be able to share with you. Actually quite nice to have you along with me. It makes it much more fun when there's more than just me. This is the other thing I want. It's just like little mementos. That was from Shell Island last year when we were in Wales, and that'll go somewhere, don't know where. I saw a nail earlier on, don't know, not sure where I saw it, but that'll go up somewhere. I'm kind of squirreling everything down here at the minute, because this is all stuff that shouldn't be in here and should be in there, and needs to be out the way. Oh, that's laundry. And my great big bird food tin. Oh, this is full of bird seed, which is not going to stay there permanently because I want that over there. I've got a unit over here which has got tools all over it, and again it's just got in a muddle. Oops. I'm not throwing things on the floor, I have a bin down here just in case you wondered. See, all these boxes should be on my shelf in the barn, and at the moment they're not in the barn because that shelf is full of denim, but I have a plan. I want to donate quite a lot of the denim anyway. Go there. Wow, look at all that space. I think the thing is, it doesn't take long to get there. It's having the time to actually do it. And that's where I think I'm just going to leave that down there. That's where I've fallen down because I just haven't had it. Ugh. Ooh. How lovely. I'll give my freezer door a bit of a swoosh. It's very, very dusty. Oh, that's better. Good morning. It's Saturday morning, and yesterday, although it doesn't look like I've done much, yesterday I cleared all of the timber that could go away. That's all now up the shed in the garden. I tidied up the top of the workbench on here, brought all my jars in, so all my lovely jars are now in here. They're not on the shelf yet because I can't get to where this lot's going. But what I did was I took all of the denim that was in this on the shelf, in bags, everywhere that shouldn't have been, and that all went indoors. And last night I deconstructed all of the broken pieces of jeans, so half a leg off and so forth. I've bagged up 2 big bags of complete jeans. They can go to the charity shop. Somebody else can have fun with those. And what I've now got are piles of pockets and piles of fabric. And they're going back up on the shelf because I have lots of projects for those that I can do. But having all of the waistband bits and pieces, if I need a pair of jeans with a waistband, I can go to a charity shop and get 1 pair. But I didn't need 2 bags full. And they were really kindly donated to my class about 2 years ago now. And the girls have used as much as they're going to use, I think. So let's donate them to somebody else, and then they can have more fun with them as well. Which means that, in theory, when I bring them back in, because at the moment they're stacked on a chair in my living room, that shouldn't take much room up on those shelves. I have discovered that I do actually need to put another bracket in because one of my shelves is pitching, and so it's all good because it just means that there's just more progression happening. It's a beautiful sunny day again today. It's absolutely gorgeous. I kind of wish that I was in the garden, but this needs to be done, and I had my gardening weekend last weekend. So today, hopefully, it's going to be more of the barn clearing and fabric sorting, which is much more fun than the cleaning side of things. So yeah, so I'm going to start by going and getting myself a cup of tea. I've just had a little wander around and trying to decide where things are going to go, I think, is more than anything. And then we can get started on the barn. So that'll be fun. That's better. Well, I've made some progress. So the denim is mostly done and back on the shelf. I'll scan it around in a bit. And I've finally found my granddad's desk. So this desk is ever so precious to me. When I was little, my granddad was, he was on the parish council in his village in Kent. And he used to spend hours at this desk writing letters and going through books and all sorts of bits and pieces. And it was a wonder to me. And he used to let me help him do folding letters and putting in envelopes, important jobs like that. And then when he passed on, this ended up being, I think it got put, he used to be a coal man, as I've said before, and he had a big coal lorry garage down the bottom end of where their garden stopped, and there was the coal wharf and the garage. And I think it ended up going in the garage because it got really bad woodworm. It definitely wasn't in the house, in my nan's house. So when I moved here, my mum it had gone to my mum's, and it was in her loft, in her garage loft. And I brought it home here, and I treated it, methylated spirited it, and it went in my bedroom as a dressing table, and then it was my desk up there. And then when I renovated here, it came down here, and it's been my sewing desk. But unfortunately, I've not really done an awful lot of sewing at it. I've done a lot of sorting at it, but I've not really sat and stitched at it. So this is one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to doing, is actually sitting and stitching and designing and working. It's not quite in the right place. It needs to be shifted over a little bit because this corner here is going to have a table in it. That's going to be my cutting table and layout table. But while I was sorting out the stuff, moving things around and just clearing some space, my desk became something that I uncovered. And I've got things like these, which they're 1930s tray covers, and they're beautiful. They're to embroider, and they're vintage 1930s, and they've got the outlines already printed on them, so they've been stenciled, and they're beautifully laced edged, like cotton lace, picot edged, gorgeous. So I'm actually thinking that I might do these at some point as a stitch, and have them. I'm thinking that I might actually make a cover for my sewing machine out of these. So I'm going to embroider these, I think. So I'm not going to put them away too far. These are various bits of fabric. Actually, weirdly, these pieces of fabric came out of pockets from the jeans. So if you wear Fat Face, you'll recognise that these are the inners of the jeans pockets. But it's lovely, lovely soft fabric. Little shirt back pieces with embroidery on them, so I've kept them. The insides, again, insides of pockets, and all of these are really, really good for slow stitch. Look, there's a little, like a knee, and this was really pretty. I really like these. These were quite cute children's jeans, so I kept those. There's all sorts of bits here, But what I've also found is a whole basket that I put embroidery. So it's machine embroidered linen. It's beautiful Irish linen. And I want to do something with these pieces. So I'm feeling a bit inspired now because there's lots of this in here. In fact, some of this I've stitched up because if you look here, I've actually started stitching up and making up a cushion. And it was one of the projects that I started when I first moved in here. And the pins are all coming out. And they're to go in my living room, really. But I don't know now whether they're the right colour for the living room. They might end up as cushions to go in the garden when we're sitting up the garden. So there, and that's a project that I want to continue with. I also had started this is fun, that's the inside. I'd started making a tea cosy with chickens. I can't turn it inside out because it's got pins in it. That's the lining. So that's another project that I will make. I've already got calico cut out here for some kits, so that was something else that was in this basket. And then some really pretty summer fabrics, some vintage summer fabrics. So again, something. Oh, and a pack of wadding, which I'd forgotten I'd got. So there's an interesting little mix of bits on the desk that I'll be working with over the next little while. I got to thinking the other day when I was driving into class on Thursday, and I was thinking, I've got to do this, and do I film it? Do I make it into a video? I don't know, I'm not sure. And at that point I was a little bit hesitant. It's a bit like bearing my soul in here. And it dawned on me that my Thursday class, it's been running now, I think it's 8 years. And we started off fairly small as just a patchwork class, and I was teaching blocks, so we were doing a block a month, and we were doing little projects, stitched projects in between. It was all hand stitching. We didn't have machines in that class at all. We still really don't. Every now and again we'll set machines up for people to do, if they're doing machine blocks, but it's mainly a hand stitching class. And over the years it's morphed. And the class had become a very kind of, it's not cliquey, but it's close. So the girls that are in the class are all really good friends now, and they will see each other outside of class, and they've formed really, really lovely friendships. And we've seen each other through some really tough times. And it's become like a trusted space. So sometimes some of them don't even stitch. They'll bring stitching, and then they'll chat, they'll listen, they'll support, they'll encourage. And I have the most incredibly talented stitchers in that class, and some of them are just not even aware of how talented they actually are. There are a few of them in there that are amazing in the way that they create. And it's not always patchworking. Some of them are incredible crocheters. Some of them are beautiful embroiderers. There's a real cornucopia of talent in that class, in and out of the class. But what struck me most was during COVID, obviously we couldn't meet up. We met up in a field once on the only cold day of the whole year. I think it was freezing. But we couldn't see each other, and I couldn't teach. All my classes had to stop. So we set up a WhatsApp group, and I tried to do a couple of Zooms and go lives, but it was a bit of a challenging technology, I think, at that point. So we decided that we'd just share the things we were doing, what we were up to, how we were feeling. And we had that space on WhatsApp to support each other. And, you know, some of us lost friends during that time, relatives, and it was very tough. And what came out of that was an unbelievably supportive and kind group of women who haven't let that go. And we've had some real hard, tough times since 2020. We got back as a class in 2021 when lockdown completely finished, and that was all quite tentative. It was like, how near do we sit to each other? And, you know, I couldn't go over and do sort of leaning over people's shoulders and teaching. I had to teach from the front, which was weird. And it has become one of the most precious times of my week, that class. They are an inspiration to me, and they're just amazing. And they share. So, you know, if somebody learns something new, it's not just me that goes in and teaches. It's me that holds the space, and it's me that keeps everyone in order sometimes, and kind of drives the new projects and bits and pieces. But, you know, they'll come in and somebody will say, oh, I've learnt this new technique, or I've found this pattern, or look, I made this over the weekend, and everyone's going, oh, I really love that, can we make it? And some of them will come in just with a picture of something and go, okay, can we make this? And I have to come up with a pattern. And so they challenge me, and they make me work harder on my own stuff, really, because we all get stuck in a bit of a pattern where we're, you know, I'm good at that, so I'll just do that. And or I like doing that, so that's all I'll do. And I think a little bit about my mum here, because my mum started off she was a domestic science teacher before I was born. And then she stopped work. She stopped teaching full time when I was born, and she got bored. My mum was definitely a career girl. So she set up a playgroup, and it was very successful. And then she was asked by an emerging department at the local college. She was asked to help choose a team to teach the nursery nursing courses, and they couldn't find anybody that that was right. And in the end, they just gave her will you run the department? She said, well, I'm not qualified to run this department. They said, well, we think you are. So anyway, she did, and she did it for a long time. And when she retired from that, and then she took her job as a youth officer, and she excelled in that. My mum was a true workaholic, really. And whatever she did 150%, and she did it well. And she was very good at organising things. And she had leadership skills. And those of you who knew her will be chuckling now. But when she retired from that job, and she became a demonstrator for Hobbycraft. So she would demonstrate stamping, and she would demonstrate various different crafts to sell their products. And people got to know this, and then she was invited to run craft groups, and then she became a Pergamano instructor, and she was brilliant at that, and she was brilliant at silk painting and decoupage and, well, you name it, and the crafts, and she did it. And I used to just sit there and think, how can you put your fingers in so many pies and be good at all of them? Because she was. I've ended up just sitting chatting to you instead of doing any work, which is actually quite nice. to be honest, it's got very hot in here, and I was beginning to think I needed a break. So so I'm hoping that the restart of this sort of channel it's going to get me, it's going to push me, and it's going to push me time-wise, I think. But that's a good thing, because I really want to put a lot more up this year. And we're already halfway through the year, and how fast has it gone? And you know, and I promised at Christmas that there would be more going on. So I'm going to try really hard to get a lot more projects. I've also I've promised my Thursday class that everything that we do in that class, I'm going to actually do a short video on, because they forget what they're doing half the time, and then I forget what I've taught them. So it would be really lovely to kind of round up on a Thursday and just pop a quick video of what I've done that week, if we've done something new. Not every week, but if we've done a new block, or if we've made something that's been new. And there's various projects that I want to do this year that have been sitting in boxes. Now I don't generally work where I'll start something and then I see it all the way through to the end, because creative brains, I don't think, work like that. Some do, but mine definitely doesn't. And I think it depends on what the inspiration that you've got. I think that fabric itself inspires me. So like I'll see new fabric, or somebody will give me a bag of vintage bits and pieces that they've got that they don't want anymore, or I'll find something fantastic in a charity shop or online or what have you, and that will inspire me to make something. Sometimes the fabric goes, I need to be this. Sometimes I just get the fabric and it sits for a while, and then I think, oh, I know exactly what I want to do with that fabric. And I have some projects that I want to do for me. There's desperate need for some new cushions in my living room, and I have a bit of an idea, because I wouldn't say that I collect birds, but there's something going on in my living room that has absolutely nothing to do with me, but somehow birds find themselves in my room. Not live birds. Well, actually, at the moment there is a live bird in my room, because I've got little Bowie staying with me for the weekend, because my daughter and Ed are working at Santa Pod again this weekend, so little Bowie's with me. And Rosie's taken the job really seriously of keeping an eye on him, so she read the memo. But there's birds in my living room. Now, I have always had an incredible love for the northern diver, great northern diver, the loon. And it stems from Canada trips and the beautiful sound that they make. And I've got several loons, carved loons on my mantelpiece. But I've got ducks, I've got seagulls. Birds are appearing in my lounge. So I've decided that I've got lots of Harris tweed scraps, and so what I'd like to do is create cushion covers that use up the Harris tweed scraps. And because we've just been to Harris, it sort of makes it a little bit more relevant. But there, my tea's nearly done now. I'm going to get back to do some clearing, and I just thought that I'd just take some time and sit down and just have a bit of a chat. I wasn't expecting to chat for that long. So, no good sitting here chatting away, nothing will get done. So I'm going to get stuck in a bit further now. I've got to a point where I can begin to look at what fabrics are going to go where. So that's going to be a good one. So let's do that. Let's have a look and see what we've got, and look at my colours and things. So I'm going to do that. See if we can get them a little bit more organised than they already are. So anyway, there's the end of my tea.